single man was able to kill 11 million people, truly a genocide around the world. Starting in 1980, the rise of the Nazi Party was initiated. In this video, you'll learn about 1. The Nazi government, 2. Famous people, 3. The dirty and terrible Holocaust, 4. The sciences in warfare, and 5. The most famous events. World War II was a dark time, an important time in human history. Therefore, we must explore this event. World War II was a time with many breakthroughs, not only in history, but in sciences and warfare. When any people were at risk, and Jews were in concentration camps. This dark time in human history shaped what we have today. Like war equipments, like new types of aerial weapons. And we won't have nuclear weapons without this time period. But so, let's explore this world.
The Nazi government took over Germany and was renamed Nazi Germany, and it was mentioned as the Third Reich from 1933 to 1945. It was under the leadership of Adolf Hitler.
Looks scary to me.
The Nazi Party was founded in 1906. It was a small party that did not win any seats per election. The reason was that the Nazi followed
the Nazi Party, right?
Dictatorship. In 1918, Hitler ran for the Nazi Party and quickly won. After many days of campaigning, Hitler won a third of the election seat and won because of his policies. So the Nazis were the biggest part in Germany. People loved the Nazis because of the sudden decrease in poverty and the rise in the economy. Hitler started building up a huge army
Too big.
and the unemployment rise. The Nazi Party promoted German pride and anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is prejudice against Jews. Germany's defeat in World War II was the Nazi Party as outlawed, and many top officials were convicted of war crimes related to the murder of 6 million Jews. The Nazis popularized dictatorship. There are many explanations for why Hitler was able to come to power in Germany. The first reason focuses on the evil genius of Hitler himself. He was a master at many things, such as appealing to people, practicing his oratorical skills in front of the mirror for hours at a time. Oratorical means speaking. Also, he was a skilled manipulator. He played the Holy Church, the government, and the media perfectly, creating a party that reached into every part of. There are many explanations why Hitler was able to come to power in Germany. The first reason focuses on the evil genius of Hitler himself. He was a master at many things, such as appealing to people, practicing his oratorical skills in front of the mirror at hours at a time. Oratorical means speaking. Also, a skilled manipulator. He played the Holy Church, the government, and the media perfectly, creating a party that reached into every single part of German life. A second explanation says that the German people were in a situation that made totalitarianism is where a state has all the power over society and wants control over private and public life. They made totalitarianism possible. Germans were deeply ashamed and sad of their loss in World War I, and the German state was devastated by the war and the Treaty of Versailles. Treaty of Versailles was when it ended the state war between Germany and the Allied powers, which gave authorities tons of war-damaging payments. Soldiers returned from the war to unrestrained unemployment and misery to all. The German people, with a history of anti-Semitism, found it much easier to blame the Jews and others than themselves. Hitler provided the scapegoat. Scapegoat is a person that takes all the blame, and claimed that if only the Germans could kill the Jews, then the state could return to its past power. The German state had a long role of authoritarianism. Authoritarian is a form of government in which enforces a strict respect to authorities for personal freedom. Government and many Germans associated the restrictions/rules of that government with the start of war, and more importantly, the result of the post-war period. Many wanted to return to the old ways, believing that modern new beliefs had sacrificed German honor and allowed the state to belittle in the name of freedom. Hitler offered not freedom but security. He promised to take action in the economy and return German national pride. And the church, in those cases, were happy to grant him the amazing power he needed to do so to kill the Jews. We won.
Red Schoolhouse at Reims, France, as peace is signed with German General Jodl acting for the remnants of the Nazi government. Jodl, for a few hours, was the chief of staff of the German army, while the Fuhrer's successor, Admiral Goetz, was strangely missing. This is the news that electrified the world. Unconditional surrender. In the temporary headquarters of General Eisenhower, cameras record the scene as terms are laid down, with the Supreme Commander represented by General Walter B. Smith. With the Americans, all the Allies sat in to enforce the terms we set long ago. Surrender with no soft terms. It seems hard for the Nazi Jodl, and it was, to admit his country's guilt and plead for mercy. But General Smith's signature is a symbol of a new world of peace. A Bill of Rights for Europe. Nothing could be more symbolic of the downfall of the Third Reich than this abject surrender. Let us not forget Germany, and meanwhile let us fight to quick victory over Japan. With the German groups sent on their way for further ratification of their signatures, the Allied delegates visit General Eisenhower's private headquarters. It's a happy day for the victors. Victory with the pens of peace.
Holocaust in Greek means burnt offering, where Jews, gypsies, homosexuals, and others were persecuted. The meaning of the Holocaust was taken in the wrong way, where the leader of the Nazis, Adolf Hitler, thought that their population should be wiped out. This was called the genocide. A genocide means when one group tries to wipe out another group's population. The way Hitler gained power over Germany was that he lied to them, saying that he would make Germany a better place to live since they lost the Battle of World War I. World War II was ending. The Nazis killed 6 million Jews, and 1 million of the population took over the kids and the teenagers, and overall 11 million people were killed, including Jews, gypsies, homosexuals, and others. Little kids did not do much work, or they weren't productive at all. That gave Nazis the excuse to knock them out. Well, the question would be, why weren't they doing any work? You know why? Because they weren't given correct food. They were also not given correct treatment if they were sick. Very less food, very less sleep, and a whole ton of work. They were sent to ghettos, concentration camps. These both were the main things that the Jewish were tortured in. Also, including gas chambers. That was horrible. Okay, forget that. We don't want any sadness. Well, this is all about sadness. Anyways, the kids could barely escape, or the elders. Since they were so weak already, they had a very less chance. And when the Nazis spotted them, they were shot to death right away. There was no mercy given at all. They were also not given proper clothing when it was very cold. For this reason, they weren't able to escape because they were very cold. And if they weren't caught by the Jews, they would freeze to death outside if nobody would take them. The amount of Jews that escaped found refuge in non-Jewish homes. The penalty was death, straight up, or they would be sent to concentration camps doing hard labor. Leaders were very mean. At first, they would act so nice, you would not even believe it. But after, they would blackmail you and make you their slaves. This was truly horrible for the Jews, and they had nowhere to go because those people will be the only safe way that they could get out and meet their parents. There is a bad part to this. There was a very less percentage that the Jews, kids, and the Jewish parents could get to meet each other because they were either shot, killed, or persecuted. You wouldn't be able to go to the same camp as your dad or your husband. This was very sad because when you were sent to concentration camps, first, you would be dying, or second, you couldn't stay with your family because, simple reason, men were separated from women and children. And if they were not doing work and did not stand the whole day, they were shot on the spot. And again, because they did not, grown-ups could not stand up the whole day, they were shot on the spot. Because again, they were not given enough food, nutrients, or water. Simple stuff like this that causes a human to die. Anyways, there was even many diseases like typhus, which is a bacteria that causes fleas and lice. Typhoid also comes from a bacteria that comes from bad water. Anyways, this is a horrible tragedy for the Jews, even though some of them survived. Jews died of these diseases because they were not given proper care. Horrible, horrible treatment. And this was good for the Nazis because they wouldn't have to waste any bullets on these so-called useless Jews that did nothing at all. all that was wrong.
This part, you see the Jew working, but the guard is pushing away since he suspects something. The guard's hitting him, pushing him. That's how brutal they were. Now you don't see the Jew has escaped. The general's mad. The Jew is coughing and he's sick. Secretly, although you don't see, the Jew finds a gun hidden in the concentration camp. He wonders how. In the morning, he wakes up, still hiding his gun, suspecting something. Searching and searching, he finds another Jew who had escaped. Together, they're cooking up a plan to escape this place. They're searching for nuts. They're searching for food that they'll need to survive. They find nothing good, but at the end, they find some nuts that will help them survive. In this part, you see the guards who are trying to search for the Jews. Instead of finding the Jews, they find something else. They find their guns. The guns that are took by the Jews that are hidden. They know that the Jews had been there. Here, you see the Jews who are separating their own ways. Now it's a test to see who will survive based on how well they hide. Although they're in somewhat hiding spaces, it depends on the eyesight of the guards. Now, one of the guards has spotted the first Jew. He's chasing him, trying to shoot him. At the end, he does. He kills the Jew, hits him, even though he's dead. Now he's laying the Jew on the floor. They just show how brutal they were. Now the guards are bringing special forces to kill the second Jew. The first and second guard dies, and it's up to the third to fight the guard. Ends up killing the Jew at last and praises.
As many people know, World War II was a devastating war with many people killed and Judaism blamed. Judaism is a religion where one believes in one God. This chapter about the major events happened in this war. In this chapter will include about Pearl Harbor, the bombing of Hiroshima, and the bombing of Nagasaki. Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was a major event for the United States. The attacking of Pearl Harbor made the United States join the war. At that time, the President of the United States, Henry Truman, didn't want to join, but because of the attack, he had no choice. On December 7, 1941, before 8 a.m., ships were attacked near Honolulu by Japanese aircrafts. The attack on the ships destroyed more than 200 ships, 20 American vessels, including enormous battleships. Since Hawaii was not guarded, this was perfect time for Japan to attack. The most likely explanation for attacking the United States was that the U.S. was supporting the British with supplies and Japan would not like that. In this attack, more than 6,000 soldiers and civilians were dead and more than 1,000 were wounded. Japan's plan was simple: destroy the Pacific Fleet. That way, the Americans would not be able to fight back as Japan's armed forces spread across the Pacific Ocean. This was the famous attack in America called Pearl Harbor.
The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki was a devastating event that basically ended the war. The scientists that are working on the atomic bomb found the science of the bomb and they needed to test it. So the United States tried to test it on Japan. The first bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in August of 1945. The atomic bomb made a huge mushroom cloud. A mushroom cloud is a mushroom-shaped cloud of dust and debris formed over a nuclear explosion. In this bombing, more than 70,000 dead and so many injured or wounded. The atomic bomb made 90% of the buildings in Hiroshima destroyed, and so many damaged. This was only the first bomb, but it was the deadliest. The second bomb, which was not on August 9th of 1945. This bomb was not as deadly, but it killed many. It killed about 30,000 people and more than 60,000 wounded. That's double than the killed people from the bomb of Hiroshima. The majority killed were civilians, innocent people. They were not army generals that were actually trying to attack the US. They were not the kamikaze pilots. Some people believe that the bombing of Japan was the one that ended the war, and it was. The surrendering of Japan after the two bombs closed down the whole Axis powers. Hitler and his wife suicided, and Italy surrendered. That made the US, United Kingdom, the Soviet Union be victorious. The Allied powers was victorious. But we have to remember this important event in human history with so many people dead and wounded. And after the bomb after effects, so many other people died. So Hiroshima and Nagasaki shaped history.
Eine schlecht Bilanz im Meer, der andere wirft sie in das Meer. Reise, Reise, Seereise, jeder tut's auf seine Weise. Der eine stößt den Schwert vom Mann, der andere sonst die Schönen. Reise, Reise, Seereise, und die Wellen weinen leise. In ihrem Blut steckt ein Schwert, Blut leise in das Meer. Die Lanze muss im Fleisch ertrinken, so wird man zur Tiefe sinken, wo die schwarze Seele wohnt, ist kein Licht am Horizont. Reise, Reise, Seereise, jeder tut's auf seine Weise. Der eine stößt den Schwert zum Mann, der andere zum Fischen an. Reise, Reise, Seereise, wo die Wellen weinen leise. In ihrem Blut steckt ein Schwert, Blut leise in das Meer. Reise, Reise.
During World War II, there were the ones who wanted peace and those who wanted world domination. This was the reason for war. The leaders were key components of this war. They shaped history. There were world leaders who saved us an army at the same time and killed so many of us. They were the leaders of the war. Adolf Hitler. Growing up with such problems and loving art, he only had one passion: for art. After he had got rejected from art school, he was shattered and his evil side awakened. Soon, he was running for the prime minister. He was a prime candidate of the Nazi Party, a small party. Soon, Hitler rises to power after winning the election. Since childhood, he was always mad about the Treaty of Versailles and World War I. To fight for his resolution, he built up a strong army, although the Treaty of Versailles didn't allow it. Hitler soon took over the neighboring country, Austria. The Allies allowed it since the small country was not worth fighting for. Soon, Germany made another risk by invading Poland, which was the start of World War II. Soon, Hitler's regime raged all over the world. All of Europe raged into the war, and soon, Hitler hated all over the world. After joining with Italy and Japan, Hitler formed the Axis power. After many battles, Hitler still did not surrender until the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Hitler and all of the Axis powers surrendered. Hitler and his wife surrendered and also suicided. At the end, Hitler was bolted for the entire war. He shaped history. Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill served as the Prime Minister of Great Britain from 1940 to 1945, and again from 1951 to 1955. He led Britain's fight against Nazi Germany in World War II. He was one of the main powers of Allied powers. Churchill was one of the most important leaders in modern British and world history. He won the 1953 World Prize in Literature for his many books on English and world history. He helped the Allies with victorious battles, playing an important role in the Second World War. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt served as the President of the United States for all but 4 months in the World War II, leading the country through one of the most devastating periods in its history. Under Roosevelt's leadership, the nation survived World War II. After Pearl Harbor, Truman planned moves that showed the world the U.S.'s powers. He was part of the Allied powers, helping the European countries. Joseph Stalin. Although he does not seem like a hero, the Russian dictator was indeed harsh. He rose to power by hurting many Russians. Stalin did hate Hitler's regime. Stalin joined forces with England and the Allied powers. Stalin provided a superpower army that had won victorious battles. Stalin was hated, beloved for his contributions to war. General Hideki Toho. General Hideki Toho was the Prime Minister of Japan. Toho was a powerful army general and became Minister of War. After he attempted to improve Japan's relations with the U.S. and failed, he ordered to go to war and attack Pearl Harbor. Toho quit when he came to the realization that Japan was going to lose the war. Once the war crime came to an end, Toho was handed responsibility to Japan's war crimes. Benito Mussolini. Benito Mussolini was the first prime minister in Italy until his overthrow. He formed the Fascist Party, whose ideology, fascism, called for total power, total obedience, a patriotic nationalism, and superpower militarism. Mussolini was a close ally of German dictator Adolf Hitler. Mussolini entered the war in June on the side of Germany. In 1943, the Allies invaded Italy, and in April of 1945, communist resistance units executed Mussolini. Genocide is a constant killing. Regime, it's a government. Fascism, a government led by a dictator. And dictator, someone who has all powers of the government.
World War II was one of the bloodiest conflicts of human history. The world was in a state of total war, motivated by the threat of global tyranny. The Allies eventually prevailed, but this victory is marked by battles won and lost. In the mind of Adolf Hitler, his plan was to take over the Soviet Union, but needed more power, so he decided to invade the West. If he invaded the low countries, which could have been easy for him, the Germans' plan could actually work. Adolf Hitler's plan. In the fall of France, Winston Churchill vowed to set Europe ablaze. To the end, British secret agents were equipped with an assortment of precise explosive devices that made even James Bond jealous. Bombs that were made to look like soap, shoes, bottles, and bicycle pumps, suitcases, and even rats. Of small arms changed amazingly with the introduction of standard, riveting, and rolling. Semi-auto rifles and assault rifles were also developed during this era. A number of transformations emerged throughout this that would affect future small arms and hands. World War II small arms had continued to be a favorite among gatherers of World War II weapons, or weapons in general. This video you learned about the Second World War. You just learned about the whole World War in one documentary. You may not believe this, but we would not be technology and advanced without World War II. The phrase, the world was built in one day, is true. It took important events like World War II to achieve our advancement of the 21st century. Thank you for watching, and I hope you feel for the Jews or the Holocaust. The world is important.